All right, amazing. So, Woj, Sam, I think you both have a very interesting experience in terms of the Farcaster ecosystem, much different than most. If you'd like to share a little bit about yourselves and how you got here and where you currently are, uh, Samuel, why don't you start, and then we'll go to you, Woj.
Sure. I started roughly around like 2.5 years ago. Roughly, no, 2 years ago, around Farcaster, which is interesting because I just joined because it was like an Ethereum aligned network of developers, and it still largely is like a network of developers and like around the crypto sphere. What got me interested is just well, there's actual discussions and conversations going on. That's how I got into Farcaster. Then like Frames, which is like the original iteration of what we now call mini apps, happened, and we just got interactivity on the social feed, and that to me was like incredible. And from there, started developing, playing around with it, and then actually joined Woj in building an app for that, and in and around Farcaster, which we did for a few months. Yeah, and now I'm running and continuing to run a Farcaster development boutique, meaning we take projects and we just make them work. Either that means giving you users, making them work better by using the social feed, or just literally making them work because you have technical challenges that we should solve. Yeah, that's quite literally the TLDR.
Perfect. Woj, let's hear it.
So yeah, Amoj, thank you for having me. Um, my context with Farcaster is that I built Super, previously called Supercast. I started working in December 2023. I was writing this solo to the second most popular Farcaster client. Later that year, I actually started working with Sam and a few other people to grow it more. And in January, I joined Farcaster core team actually to scale Farcaster. So
Looks like you have a paid subscriber in the comments.
yeah, possible. We need to still resolve a few things there, but I appreciate everyone's support.
Yeah, they seem to love it. Of course, I did as well. So it's an incredible journey, and of course, no longer at Super. You want to give us a little background about your transition into the Merklefication?
Um, not to give away too much info that shouldn't be said
Mhm.
publicly, but essentially in January, um, I had a conversation with Dan and Varun about like the future of Farcaster and where things are going, and what's what can we do to maximize our chances of becoming a global protocol. And they offered that I should join their team. So after some consideration, I did that.
Seems like the visions are aligned to some extent, even if you don't have to share it.
Oh yeah, of course. I've been very hardcore on Farcaster since summer 2023, and I bet my whole life on it. So yeah, fortunately, the visions are aligned with the founders of Farcaster.
Before we go deep into consumer applications in crypto and why Farcaster is indeed a consumer application in crypto and mini apps and all that good stuff, why don't we get it out of the way? Why don't we have the conversation about Warpcast versus Farcaster? As someone who built a client yourself, Woj, I think you have a very interesting perspective on this. I know Super was a very interesting name. It's almost perfect for that very quick. Everyone knows it. Everyone remembers exactly who you are because of it. And does Warpcast have that same effect? And does it need to be different than Farcaster?
Um, yeah. So there is this common definition that Warpcast is the app built on top of Farcaster, and Farcaster is the protocol that is like the actually decentralized social media protocol that will be running forever and is not dependent on any specific app. In practice, the state for today is that many things actually still depend on Warpcast, like access to private messages, like access to sign in with, is still kind of Warpcast dependent. Um, uh, but Farcaster is still like, an independent thing. So you can build a client like super, and you can build your own business. You can build your own product based purely on Farcaster. And as long as you're comfortable with some trade-offs, like for example, lack of the access to private DMs, you can do fantastically well. I know that a few things are changing on that front as well. Probably I don't know how much of this is public and how much isn't. But this is a Base event, so obviously Base will have their own client, and some of these challenges will be lifted. So I'm very excited to see that. But probably with I'm not the right person to announce all the releases.
So Sam, why don't we just get your quick 2 cents on the topic while we're here?
Like in the end, it doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, the naming kind of matters because you have to build a brand, and eventually you want that brand to be consistent. So I think like the Farcaster name is going to stick for whatever it ends up being in the like client app / protocol naming scheme. But like in the end, all we want is users and fun, and users and fun usually then translate into some kind of financial payoff. And whatever gives us that, we will use that name, which literally is how it has always worked, and how it's going to work. I know I'm fighting a lot about naming on the feed. I'm quite vocal on that, but that's the end goal, right? If you can like, do whatever that is and just educate people, that's cool. If there's multiple apps building onto a Farcaster, well, okay, now you don't have to say it's one app, you have multiple. I think that's a timing and timeline thing. So yeah, that's my politically correct view on it.
Yeah, I mean, it is being recorded and it is live, but you definitely don't have to be politically correct. I was not expecting it to be like that on point, but I mean, I definitely do agree with you. That's for sure. I think there is a benefit to having Farcaster be named the protocol and Warpcast not, especially if the idea is to get other clients to build within the ecosystem. So but there's also a clear benefit to the average consumer who would like the protocol to be the same name as the client. But education eventually breaks barriers, and it takes time and effort. And if Merkel's willing to put in the time and effort and the money, then it's going to happen. Yeah, whether the name change happens or not. So I think we all agree there. Okay. So why don't we get into some of the clear advantages of using Farcaster versus Twitter, and maybe even some of the cons, if anyone can think of anything or bring something up. And then I'd like to dive into maybe even some live demos from Sam or Woj or both, depending on what you're most interested in, what you most actively use on Farcaster. All right, so Woj, what are some reasons? What's the pitch that you give to your mother, to your father, to anyone in your normal social network?
So the pitch that I was sold on in summer 23 was mostly about like building your decentralized identity and using social media the right way.
Right.
That is fully independent. This still applies, but it's definitely not the main value prop of Farcaster, Warpcast specifically these days. These days I just say, hey, we built Twitter with crypto embedded in it, and it's fun. You can use some mini apps on it. You can send money to your friends. You can trade inside of it. So essentially, it's an experiment of like how much more fun and more interesting the Twitter form factor can become if you actually embed crypto very, very natively into it. So that's my pitch these days.
I love how you covered why you first came, because of course what brings us all here is the value proposition of the infrastructure that is Farcaster. But of course, when selling Warpcast to people, it's a little bit different, and yeah, we have to cover both bases. I think both are very important, and different people care about different things. And there's a lot of people who don't care about, the infra. There's a lot more people, I should say, that will use the app that don't care about the infra. But the people that do, we're the ones that, of course, we're here and built this network from the ground up because we do care about these things. So I think it's important for there to be a sort of cohesive relationship between these two groups of people, even if, they don't really see it.
Yeah.
there's some fun interplay there with the naming, because if you're going into the naming route and you're going into this like interplay between the people liking the decentralized stuff and the people just like wanting to use the app as the app, the people who want to use the app as the app would just want to have it named Farcaster. Then the people who like developers, we just want to use it, have enough users, just make money. Okay, cool. And then there's the part of us where we all initially came because it's somewhat this neutral ground. For that neutral ground, you also need a neutral name. And that's where kind of like the spice starts to get added, and that's like all of the vocal people in the comments, me included, hands up, saying like, okay, how would you name things? How would you poke around there? But like in the end, decentralization doesn't come down to a name. It comes down to the technical foundation that it's built on. Like nobody complains that Bitcoin is named Bitcoin. People complain about whatever issue they potentially see in Bitcoin. Same with Ethereum, Solana, and any kind of other chain. It's like, okay, what do you see? What's the technical? What's the facts? And that's what you have to base it on. If you're going like, okay, this is full on decentralized Twitter, for example, Farcaster though to me is like this ground layer. It's like, yeah, we're building like Twitter on top of it, is like Merplay and Coinbase are doing. But you could build Instagram on top of it. Why not? The only struggle you kind of have is image hosting because, well, Farcaster itself is not a content delivery network. So you have to solve for that, which was like we tried with videos and all of it, and like it's not as easy as you think. But
yeah,
that literally is it to me. Like it's the programmable like ground layer, and how decentralized that becomes over time is going to impact how resilient it's going to be to whatever change may come.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, so Woj, what do you use Farcaster for the most? I'm genuinely curious. Do you post more than you use mini apps? Do you use mini apps? Do you not post at all? I mean, I know, of course, but what do you? How would you sum up your
He's beating Statuette at Farville. That's all I know.
Oh, don't bring that up. Oh, Statuette will join the call right now, and she'll have something to say
She's in the
about
comments. I see it.
it. All right, you guys need to calm down with this beef. It's getting a little bit too intense for the public.
What's the beef about?
Oh, he asked.
Oh God. All right, so Samuel, you might as well talk about it now that we're here.
Yeah, sure. Like any social media app is mainly used for beefing. So
this is what it's all about. So in Farville, there's a leaderboard where you can see that currently, because Tetsuya did a weekly quest, I'm actually not leading.
Ooh.
So I need Void to step up and lead here. Yes, I'm publicly exposing that I'm not leading. I know. But it's like this leaderboard, and like Setchio and I are competing. And the weekly quests give you like insane amounts of XP. Like I'm really close to finishing one that gives me 5,000 XP. So that puts me back up again. But yeah, you need to complete it, right?
They're trying to convince Limone to add features where they can destroy each other's farms. It's
no. Who's
getting to
doing
the point where
that?
they're gonna have to do some open source development just to get what they want from farm.
By the way, also like Farville is not open source. I can't just
I know.
punish Statuette by writing code. I already would have if it was in there. Wait, did I say that?
All right. So we know that one of the main reasons Samuel uses Warpcast is specifically for Farmville, so he can beef with Statuette. Whoa, why don't you give us a little brief about how your relationship with Warpcast and how it's evolved over time, and even maybe how you were using Super instead of Warpcast.
And that's honestly a great question, because I think I was always using Farcaster in some way to socialize, get to know more people, then build my business. Clearly, I would post a lot, and I would love to watch my engagement to make sure that I can reach as many people, and tell the world about Super. These days, probably back to square one, because I don't need to promote my business now. I need to build the coolest features and the best growth hacks we can do. And this is basically what I'm focused on at my work with Merkle. So I would just say it's a social app. It's a social app, right now differentiated by the cool people that spend time here. and just by amazing opportunities all around the world that you may have if you join, if you make friends, and if you like fully immerse yourself into it. Then there's the aspect that there's a lot of crypto action going on Farcaster as well. There's a lot of tokens, so you can also farm some airdrops, trade some tokens. I think many of us were always quite successful with this over 24. So there is a lot of things that you can do on Farcaster. For me, that would be like the socializing part, but actually something I'm thinking about right now is that there is literally no clear guidance on what to do, and this is both probably a problem for us because it makes the onboarding more confusing, but also it makes for the vastly different audiences of people who join the app. And today, in the morning, I've seen this account that was posting for 2 months without any engagement about some milady memes, and I realized it's actually like choose your own adventure. You can do whatever you want, just download the app, see whatever makes sense for you. It can be either like some artistic expression or more like just like number driven engagement pursuit. So yeah, you can do whatever you want on Farcaster.
It's a really great point because people do use Farcaster for a lot of different things. But it all started with just the pure socialization. That's what brought me to Farcaster outside of the ethos was it just felt like Twitter back in 2014 or pre 2014, I should say. So it brought back that just like you could message anyone you wanted right on the timeline, they would respond. It'd be a high quality thought. People would actually spend time and attention on communicating with each other rather than just posting bullshit and fighting each other. And it's not to say that doesn't happen now on Farcaster too. As it's growing, there's definitely more of that. But the high quality people and the network is just it's something else. And then of course, like having all of these different facets does make it does create more friction for onboarding. That's for sure. But as people sort of like fight through that fiction, man, I mean, that's how you become a real power user. And even like smaller accounts, people I know who really do love Farcaster, they don't even have more than 100 followers, but they use it every day. And they're getting followers every day. They're posting every day and they're using it in some way every day. And the more and more they use it, the more they find things that they want to use it for. So that's what makes, the whole Farcaster ecosystem really special. As we make, as you, I should say, add more features, it's going to be really cool to see how we can build on top of that without making it even more confusing for new folks.
Yeah, and by the way, we're working very hard right now on simplifying the onboarding. That's literally the priority number one, and we should have some exciting updates coming in the next few weeks.
I think it's also been very clear for app developers and builders in general who come to Farcaster. Not only can they grow their personal accounts, but you do get a very solid engagement when you talk about what you're building, whether it's Farcaster native or not. So it's just a good place to start getting distribution. And of course, now with airdrops, it's a very easy way to put your app in front of 1,000 plus high quality users that if they actually do interact, they will continue interacting with it. So it's and most people in crypto don't have any users, so it's very cool to be able to offer more crypto apps and games, etc. That sort of distribution.
Yeah, for sure.
Samuel, as a builder yourself, how do you see yourself leveraging this sort of distribution, both personally and for what you're building, and what you're building for other
Well,
people?
like personally, it's quite simple, right? Like you just get distribution, you use it in the sense of like, hey, like if you need any word to get out, well, if you have distribution, it's always way easier, right? For anything you're building, if you need first users, if you need first clients, if you need feedback, well, you can just post an idea and instantly you get something back. Personally, that's like something I'm actively abusing. And I would actually say abusing, where I'm just like, I'm throwing out 2 or 3 like shitty ideas, or like, how do you actually do this? And I get a way like quicker, high quality response, or I get put in touch with the team, which like roughly a year ago. For me, like didn't happen. So let's like if you have an audience, you have some kind of reach that will happen. Um, the coolest thing about that though is you can ask how would you approach this, and you get way better responses than you can find on Google or in LLMs.
What about Twitter,
That
for
to me is the
example?
highest leverage.
Do you find like a better iteration feedback loop on Farcaster versus Twitter?
Well, Farcaster is smaller, right? In the sense that, like, well, if you just hit people on Farcaster, you just get the responses. While Twitter is way noisier, so you're more dependent on the algorithm there. Which, like, don't get me wrong, as Farcaster grows, it will be the same. Like, we're building a social app, and like the playbook of social apps and what happens to feeds has been played out for almost 20 years now. So we all know what happens if you're late to the platform. But like you can still own that distribution today. The cool thing with Farcaster though is if people use different kind of clients, they may actually have different feeds. You may still have different reach. So you may still have more on some apps and some others. And then that really depends on what user group you're in and targeting. For what that means as a developer and as a builder, if you want to say so, is push notifications are insane right now. You can push notify every single one. And you can also DM everyone. You have all of that data open, publicly available to you. You could literally go and say, anyone who's holding more than one ETH, send them a message to literally buy my coin. I would not advise you to do that. You could.
Well, then why tell them on live stream? No, I'm kidding.
Feel free to hit my DM requests. I may just not respond if you show me your coin.
That's great. Well, what's a good use case of somebody doing that? Like, why should someone have the ability to do that? And how would you use it properly?
Well, okay. Take the Favel example. Well, Favel needs to send me a notification somehow that my crops are like ready, so I can farm them. How would you do that? Well, typically you would need to send me a push notification with the mobile app. But what if you don't want to build a mobile app, or you just have like a smaller little feature, like a one-click app, or it's like cast storage, for example. It's like a little tool that reminds you that if your like storage runs out, which is like in Farcaster, it's a thing where like you just have a limited amount, decentralization, woohoo. Anyways, it's just like a tool that reminds you once every year for most users. For power users, maybe once every few months, that hey, you should like pay this if you want to. This notification won't reach me if it's in my mail. They would have to spam my mail. If it's like, hey, you can send me a push notification right to my like feed. I don't know. I'll just open the feed here. It's like, hey, top notification, Fabio, right? So like, if this was a like storage thing or some utility, it's like, wait, your package is arriving. Well, they can send you an SMS. Works. What if you never need to give out your number again? It's like, hey, you just add this app and it just sends you that, right? Like this is kind of the distribution you get without having to have a native app. Which for crypto apps, dude, like I don't want to see another PWA that doesn't work with notifications. I have a phobia for PWA notifications since building them, but anyways, it's just like, dude, this is so much easier. You're already there. The user's already there. Like literally, Y and team spends their whole day trying to make that thing as retentive as possible.
Right.
So just add on top of it. And if you have a more complex app, then add a mobile app or like use both and just make sure like you now have double distribution. Like why not?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I feel like many apps are even like killing the PWA just because the experience is just so clean.
If many apps kill PWAs, I will do a lot of things in appreciation to that I can't say on stream.
I mean, it's already doing it for me personally, so I don't know about
well,
the rest of the world, but
guys,
it's
there's some guys at Basecamp, which is this like productivity project management suite of tools that are now sunsetting their JavaScript ported native mobile apps for PWAs. We'll see how that goes. We will see how likely and how nicely they send push notifications to all the users on iOS. Good luck. But hey, we'll see like in a year if they have reverted back. But there's something like time has to tell. But they're now trying the PWA route again, which I really like. They're at like millions of users, and they're like a really cash flow like positive business. So if they want to, cool, we'll see. If it hurts their business, they'll go back and we'll see. But they won't build a mini app because that thing is just too intense to be like used inside of another app. No, you want this thing to just be your main thing, your focus, where you're fully in. That's not a good mini app use case. One good mini app use case for something like productivity tool like Basecamp is sending invites. It's like I can send the invite to you on Farcaster, you just open it, accept it right there, and then you're in. You can do like a file upload or a new message, but don't put the full thing in the mini app. Like it's not the right form factor for that, I feel like.
Yeah, I literally was just casting at Matthew actually to get on the events mini app. We're all waiting for it, and a lot of people in the community are. So I'm gonna keep pushing them until it exists. But yeah, I think this is a really good coverage so far about what Farcaster is, especially as a consumer-facing application. Now let's move a little bit into some of the infrastructure that makes Farcaster work. I'd really love for either of you to give a quick rundown of what a Farcaster hub is, if you run one, any details that that you'd like to share about the longevity and sustainability and sort of the vision.
Sure, Simon, you want to go? You have more opinion on this than I do.
Well, I'm sure that's true about every topic. So.
Okay, so what is a hub? A hub is what we call a piece of like a computer, some software running somewhere that just stores and validates the Farcaster network. Okay, what does that mean? Well, a hub literally goes and says, hey, this is a network, this is like a new message on the network, like a social message, like a post. Just deliver this out to everyone, and we'll just all be in sync. We have a network. Cool. How does that help? Well, it just adds more nodes. Network becomes resilient, right? If one goes down, we have the others. This actually is changing. There's a new thing coming called Snapchain. So then hubs won't be working like I just explained. Hubs will then be working like, hey, just give me the newest data. 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 And then there's going to be one set of so-called operators, which will then just like actually get all of the new messages, structure them, streamline them, and your hub was just going to read from that, and that order will be what you kind of consume. The difference to a blockchain here, for those of you who may think that it's a blockchain, is that no, this order is just in terms of like, hey, we have to somehow bunch it together so it's easier for sync, and we just have some kind of order. It's not like a blockchain where it's like, hey, this is one by one by one by one by timestamps and like actual hierarchical order that doesn't exist. This is social data. Like if I post this, like, and it's live 5 minutes later because I have a bad network connection, doesn't matter. For financial data, oh shit, like I don't want to like have my money sent 5 minutes later after I intended to, and then the price has changed or something. So yeah, that's the like really high level TLDR.
I think that's a pretty good explanation. And how do you see sort of Farcaster hubs evolving over time, and how do you participate?
Well, why do you want to go with that one on the overtime? You probably have more info on that one than I do.
Yeah, I'll have to drop right after this question as well. So if there is something super important, Luciano, you can also like throw right after.
No.
Essentially, the messaging that we're trying to do, and like we constantly fail at, is that you actually shouldn't really run hub if you don't need the data, and if you don't want to run your own infra for Farcaster. Because it doesn't bring the same security guarantees as running a node in a traditional blockchain would do. Literally, the only incentive to run a hub is to have the first class access to the Farcaster network, and because hubs in the past, Snapchain takes its security guarantees from something else than mining hashes and or like some proof of stake mechanism. We don't need people to run a lot of nodes. So don't participate if you don't have to. Running Farcaster infra is much more is now probably already more expensive than running like an ETH node, and definitely will be more and more expensive because social media scale is totally different scale than blockchains till today scale. So so yeah, if you're interested in stuff like that and you're running your own app, definitely, reach out to us, join developer group chats, join developer calls, and you will learn more, and you will learn how to utilize Snapchain in your app and how to use it the best. But if you're just someone from the outside and you want to like participate in Farcaster, I think just like creating an account and posting is much higher leverage than spinning up a Snapchat.
You phrased that really well.
I mean,
Actually, before you drop, there's one question I actually have.
Let's go.
Because we were discussing this a little bit on the feed. I posted about kind of what Luke and you were doing with Farconomy, and being like, well, we're literally measuring Farcaster success by daily active users, and I understand that daily active users is the goal that's publicly set, but we could also measure it in total addressable market. I mean, like, hey, what's the amount of users times their wallet? It's kind of like the Singapore thing that you've also brought up, right? So
Yeah.
there's both. How do you think about both? And then on like the end of it, it's like, well, what's the DAO driver? Like, what's the killer thing people come to Farcaster? And I know that for developers, that's the open access and the APIs, so we don't have to cover that. But like for a user, I think it's harder because we just have so much as social media.
Yeah. So my opinion is not the opinion of my employer on this.
we won't tell them.
They're not listening. It's just Satuat in here. Base isn't employing you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not like the way how I look at this, and like what was the most interesting angle is if you like analyze the status and maybe like just in general human status and human success. Very simple before social media way to like very simple way to assess like your status or your success before social media would be, oh, how much money do you have? After social media, there is a new class of individual influence that is like how many people you can actually influence, like the new version of status, how many people you can influence. And you can see this right now with in the past, if you're like a wealthy person and you want to have influence on others, you would buy a media company, you would buy a newspaper, you would buy a TV station. These days you buy you either buy a social media platform like X, or you invest a lot in your own distribution. Like like you can see like what Jeff Bezos actually bought a newspaper, but like he's also investing a lot of in his like personal brands and everything. And like every wealthy person is doing this because like you now need to go direct and you need to influence people on your own. It's much harder to like just pay for this because people value authenticity. And then like this is what's happening right now. This is like kind of it's hard to argue with this. My thesis that the pack is going into a world where just like not even your influence on people will matter, but like literally what markets can you move. And this is like the next version of the status. And markets come in many different forms. I'm not even talking about just like specifically like financial markets with equities, not even like talking about cryptocurrencies or anything else. There's like a lot of markets that you can move. So where Farcaster is going, and like how I think again by myself where Farcaster will be the most successful if we are globally impactful and we have so much capital gathered on the platform and across all the identities that we can actually impact, have impact on the global market as Farcaster community, which is like again kind of outlandish way to look at this, and this is not something I have even like
it's degen to $1, right?
To say to say. So this is like just me riffing. But yeah, if you were to ask me why me and Luke are so excited and like so deeply involved into like the concept of Farconomy, is because I believe this is what makes Farcaster the most interesting. Is you have the highest density of people who who can interact financially with each other and with the rest of the economy. And then, Farcaster becomes something like this, on-chain Singapore that we're talking about quite often on the network.
It's super interesting because you're connecting how many people you can influence directly with payment rails. Like literally what I took down while you were talking is like scope out, like maybe see if I can weekend hack it, if I get time to do it, is like, or somebody else, we're on a live stream, please just like, do it. Is like a little analytics tool or just like a demo so devs can just deploy it, where every single app also shows you how many opens you drive as a like influencer. It's like, for example, Farvel. How many times have we freaking mentioned that thing? And I'm not getting paid a single cent by Limoni. I'm not even getting XP for it.
And this is the third Homebase workshop, and it's been mentioned over 200 times. So.
And yeah, and like if Farvel has some kind of like transaction or payment system, it's like if I'm sharing it on the feed constantly, because still the context of the social feed and the mini app context, they know that I'm driving that volume. With crypto, they can instantly just split that with me, and they can show me a dashboard of my like influencer statistics. And that way you can actually measure that economy on the actual like individual level, so you can have that status, and then every month, for example, you roll that up into one if you were to track this as like Merkles yourselves, as like, hey, every single person now shares how much volume they drove every single month. Maybe something to just do status wise.
I mean, that's how it used to work when people were building new chains. As people would come, there'd be communities around those chains. People would build around them, and those communities would just, use those just because of the network effect. But now there's just too many chains, too many communities, and Farcaster actually has like a real competitive advantage here for bringing developers, bringing distribution, etc. So it has created a whole new beast.
Yep, guys, I'll have to drop. Sorry about it.
It's
great to see you both.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
We'll celebrate the night for you.
Yeah, take care, guys. See you.
See you.
Thanks,